Today's topic.
Tammy says, honestly, men want to be providers. Because I don't need a man for that, they feel intimidated. Especially since I make a nice income, I've had a few back off and state to me that a woman always wants to date equal or higher her station or income. So this is men have said that to her. Men are telling her what she wants. I've told them I don't.
Yes, men can tell you what you want. You know why? Because men spend their whole life trying to understand how to get women. Like, what? It is true.
I think that men overall are taught the game of women, and women aren't taught the game of men. Men are not
taught the game of men.
Women are not taught the game of men, period.
Men are not taught the game of women. Men have to learn by... Men have to learn by trial and error.
Yes, exactly. Men care about learning about the game. Women don't care because we're the winners of the game.
No, because women are pursued.
I know, and it's easy.
Yeah, no, because since you're pursued, men have to figure out generalizations that work in general with women. It's a trial and error process. It's literally a scientific process of trying to figure out how to get a girl.
Right. However, in this case, he should not be telling her what she wants.
Why?
Because she could really want a beta dude who's gonna sit at home, take care of the kids for her. If she makes enough money, shoot.
Oh my gosh! Unless Tammy is about to sit there and provide. So if Tammy wants to be in the provider role, yes. Now, do most women want to be a provider?
Tammy does.
Proves my point.
Tammy does.
Obviously not, because obviously she's not with them.
Well, she's saying that the dudes are like, this isn't going to work because you're going to want to...
We haven't even gotten started. Anyways, today's topic, attraction is asymmetrical. Anyways, first of all, let's just let this go, and we're gonna let it develop over time. But we're actually gonna just go ahead and debunk Matthew Hussey, because I swear to God he's a sociopath. I think he's a sociopath because he absolutely knows the game, but he's following the old tactic of when you sell to when you lie to women, or when you lie to women, women buy. He's good at it.
He's a salesman overall.
I'm not saying he's wrong. He's a businessman. Like he knows his demographic. But anyways, I digress. Let's see.
I would say sociopath.
I mean, I feel like it's easier for me to be a man, so I sell to men because it's just easier for me to be that way. I don't have to lie constantly. I would have to lie constantly to women. Like, no, he's just intimidated. No, you're unattractive.
And I sell to no one because I'm not authentic.
Oh my.
I'm authentic.
Who have been single for a long time, and we believe we've priced ourselves out of the market in many areas of our lives for being so goal-oriented. So some people had this response of saying, well, men, they don't, if they don't feel needed, if they don't feel like they can provide enough, they are intimidated by that and they back off.
Men are probably going to have to get more and more used to this one, because there's more and more women earning better paychecks than men. But
and the statistics.
This is true. I mean, it's not wrong. Women are going into the workplace in higher numbers, but the issue is not. Once again, why are we blaming men for this? Women are the ones who are choosing to be goal oriented. That's your problem. If you have to follow your mating strategy, which we've said before is hypergamy. If you guys don't know what hypergamy is, we'll put it on the screen right now. But hypergamy is just women choose to date or mate with someone who's of equal or higher socioeconomic status. If we're not having the same gender roles and you don't want to have traditional gender roles, then why won't a woman be a provider?
She can be.
But women are not choosing it. Taylor, are you going to be a provider?
First of all, you're not going to bring me into this because you know that my viewpoints are very traditional, but that is me as a person.
All right.
That's not saying that if you have Kathy or whatever.
Tammy. Get it right.
Tammy. It's not to say that Tammy, if she's making upwards of six figures, I would never, ever tell her that she had to quit her job. And she probably also,
I'm not telling
through
you,
the evolution of her career, has realized that she won't find a man that's of higher or equal value.
Yeah. So sucks to suck, Tammy.
But that's the thing. That's the thing, though, is through the evolution of society, as women are becoming more goal-oriented and becoming higher earners, there are going to be growing pains. There's going to be shifts. So your argument is that men shouldn't have to shift. It's women who have to shift back.
No, it's absolutely women who have to shift. Either women need to shift back or shift forward, in the sense of women either need to say, hey, like, I want to be in a more traditional role, i.e. that, or I want to be in a more modern role, so I will be the primary provider and caregiver for the family because I make more money. Mm-hmm. Most women don't want to do that, though. You don't see most women coming out here trying to like pursue and chase down dudes and take them on dates. Now, do we? Mm.
But that's not to say that they're not there. Like, my parents are a prime example of that.
Your parents are
my
an
mom
outlier.
she's always been the caregiver or the provider. She's always been that person.
I get that, and I'm not saying that that's wrong. I'm just saying that most women, if you look at their reason for divorce, usually it's like finances and communication. People who make more tend to not get divorced. So why do most women initiate divorces, though? We can't sit there and sift through every single one, but for the majority, money is a big issue.
So let me ask you this. If you say that most people who don't get divorced are people who are high earners, would that statistically also mean, though, that if a woman is the high earner in the relationship, that they won't get a divorce?
Probably not, because there's two things that go with that. Because I've worked in hospitals, I've worked with women who are, like in the healthcare industry, it's a predominantly female-led industry. And I've seen these cases where you have women who are the primary caregivers and the dudes are stay-at-home dads. Yes, it occurs. These are very much outliers. But the reason why I say this is women have to be cognizant of their mating strategy. So if their mating strategy is hypergamy, right? So it's like, I want to date a dude who makes just as much or more than me. Like, I don't want to be taking care of no dude. Well, if that's your mating strategy, understand you're like on the 1% of the 1% of the 0.5% of the 0.5% uphill battle, because as you make more money, your
pool becomes smaller.
Your pool becomes
dramatically,
non-existent. Because a dude who makes, so let's say you take a dude who makes 100K and a girl who makes 100K. That dude who makes 100K, guess what? He could date everyone who makes nothing up to 100K. Mm-hmm. Straight up.
Right. So his pool is vast.
You can only date 100K or above, but just that man now has access to all those people. So it's the funnel effect, and we talk about this in the book. It's just the reverse funnel effect. This is what happens in the dating market. But my thing is, like, I think, yes, to an extent, you could argue that if a woman is aware of her mating strategy and it's like, hey, I'm going to be the primary caregiver and like, or the primary provider, like the breadwinner, then yes, it could 100% work. But most women don't do that. That's just why I think we see like marriage rates falling and just birth rates falling and just like divorce rates skyrocketing.
Right. So you do agree, though, that regardless of if it's a man or a woman, if you're making upwards of 100K or upwards of 6 figures, then you're less likely to get a divorce, regardless 100%. Of gender. Okay.
100%. But most of the time, when you look at that, it's mostly men who are in those higher.
Right, for sure.
So the profile of those people are like men who are in advanced management positions, mm-hmm. and they have a wife that works like part-time.
Right.
So that was like the profile, but that was also back in like 2014. So times change.
Yep.
If anything, this should be celebrated as, like we can be a team in this department. I'll contribute everything I can. You contribute everything you can. But the problem is, when men firstly let's just take a generous interpretation of this. I would say there are two ways to look at this through a compassionate lens from the male perspective. One is people know what they grew up with. So there are a lot of men that got brought up by a man and a woman who had traditional roles. And by traditional, I mean that their mum raised them and their dad, quote, provided. And that's become their model for what each person brings to the relationship. And his foremost role models modeled that dynamic. So he's going off of that. And then, of course, if he also kind of grew up culturally in a society where that was the norm, then he came to learn that a man's value was that he was the provider. So there's part of that that's just historic imprint. It's not necessarily him having some innate sexism. It may manifest itself in a kind of sexism, but it's not coming from a badly intentioned place. It's coming from the place of...
So, like, I agree with everything he said, but I don't agree with his delivery.
Okay.
So this is where I think, so this is kind of how he goes into the mental gymnastics of lying to women. We're not there yet. This is what I was going to say. But you can kind of see how he's trying to deliver this information of, I think he's right in the sense like regardless if you believe in traditional gender roles or not, there are roles in relationships. I don't give a crap what you say. I think there are innate differences that have occurred that allowed the human race to survive up to this point.
Yeah.
And I think that, yes, there is some historical and social and cultural grooming without a doubt. But here we are now, and we're going into this modern era where we are gender bending and we're changing the roles, and we're wondering why. So the nuclear family is in shambles. So like mental health issues for kids are on the rise. Divorce rates are on the rise. Birth rates are falling. Like 1 in 4 women are on antidepressants. Suicide rates for men are 4 times as high for men than it is for women. So it's like, you can't tell me you're going to, like, with the information that we have provided, if you're going to sit here and tell me like, oh no, it's like, we're so trying to be socially acceptable. I'm like, no, I'm just saying there are innate differences. And when you go away from that, there is consequences. Physiologically, biologically, there are innate differences between men and women. And I think that when women enter into the workforce, and what we're seeing now is like, I'm not saying that women don't need to work, right? Go to work. But when women go and complain about men and being independent, I'm like, this is what every man has been putting up with, though, since the dawn of time. And men understand this. Like, men understand we need to produce. That's that is like innately a part of our you can call it social grooming. I say it's like every sense of caveman day of surviving, right? Like you have to survive, you provide for your offspring, so you make sure they survive so they don't die, so you can ensure the passing on of your genetic material. And here we are, it's still the same thing. We have more creature comforts, that delude us from believing that, but at the very base of it, humans still operate off a level of survival. Like, you don't go to work for 40 hours a week for fun, do you? No, you go to make money.
No.
You go to make money. So it's like, let's stop acting like it is. Like, that's why I say I don't like political correctness, because you're politely lying to people to make them feel good about their situation. No, you're doing it because you want to survive.
He's looking to date someone who's of equal financial status or higher. There's also a very good chance they've heard that from women. I have heard that from women. And I don't mean on a date. I mean that we have plenty of women who have come to us for coaching over the years who have said exactly those words. I feel like I need to date someone I feel like I want to date someone who's in the same financial position as me. And by the way, look, it's hard to discern how many of those women are saying that because they're worried that men who earn less are going to be intimidated, versus saying that because they're more attracted to guys who earn the same. But there's a decent proportion of women who are telling themselves, I would be put off by a guy who has debt. I would be put off by a guy who isn't in the same...
See, like, this is why I'm like, here's why I say, it's like, we can't tell women what they want. But then it's like, he contradicts himself, where it's like, women are also saying this. Women openly say they usually don't want to date a guy who's shorter than them, who makes less than them. Like, there's always like a huge list of reasons why.
The whole argument here is that Tammy herself said that men come to her and say, saying, you might not want to be with me because I make less than you, and eventually that's going to become a problem. He's confirming that right now. Because women come to him and say they can't be with someone who's making less than them.
But you don't see how. So
thing.
He went in a roundabout way to make
it
to root it into male insecurity. It's not it has to do anything with male insecurity, and this is why I say, like, women are saying, I'm intimidating to man. I'm like, you are not intimidating a man. Like, if you're talking about a real man, you're just unattractive to a man. And I think that it's true. And this is where we constantly lie to women. It's like, yeah, you're just intimidating. No, if you can't get a man, it's probably something you're doing. Just like I can get a woman because I probably do certain things correctly. It's just a nature of the beast. Like, if you can't attract the opposite sex, that's on you. Mm-hmm. It really is. And this is where I don't like his whole stance, is because it's constantly revolving around blaming someone else. You're constantly blaming someone else and not taking accountability for what you're doing in your own life.
Yeah, that's why he's so popular, because what's happening nowadays is projection of blame. And it's not at all taking personal ownership and responsibility for your dating life.
Yeah, no. And that's why we're here, because we see that as a huge issue. But I think people are starting to realize this, hopefully. I don't know.
Who earn less are going to be intimidated, versus saying that because they're more attracted to guys who earn the same. But there's a decent proportion of women who are telling themselves, I would be put off by a guy who has debt. I would be put off by a guy who isn't in the same financial situation or better than me. There are women who will be put off by that. So just as a guy learns in his lifetime that if he's not the culturally or societally defined standard of tall, he will learn in his life that there are a decent number of women who quite openly say, I don't want a short guy. Mm-hmm. Therefore, men go into a lot of dates going, she's too tall for me, which isn't a sexist proposition, I would argue, from most men. It's an insecure one. The proposition is, I've come to know that a lot of women actually don't want a short guy.
This is why I find it so problematic. It's like, it's constantly selling male insecurities as the problem, when it's just sexual selectivity. Like, women don't want short guys. Generally speaking, not saying all women, generally speaking, most women don't want to date short guys, right? Mm-hmm. So how is it now a male insecurity though? Because here's my issue, because when men say those same sexual preferences, like, I don't want to date a girl who's a slut. Okay, sorry. As I've tried to be better. I don't want a girl who's sexually liberated. I don't want to date a girl who's...
Let's talk about physical appearance.
Sexually liberated
just like the tall one.
To me, that is a physical appearance, because that has to... I mean, you know what I was going to say. Anyways, I don't want to date a girl who's sexually liberated. I don't want to date a girl who's overweight or obese.
There you go. That would be the most relevant one to me for men.
I don't want to date a girl
when men say that they don't want to date a girl who's overweight, all the women are like,
but fat shaming, you're just insecure. It's like, no, it's a sexual
preference thing. I think this guy is reversing
everything. He's reverse engineering it to sell it to women.
Yes, which works for women. Now, I will say,
but it keeps women single. So here's the truth that I was saying, and this is why I say it's like, as a man, there's something problematic about this behavior, because men are generally direct. Men should be generally direct. Like, they're direct communicators. They're not going to do all this passive mental gymnastics to make you feel good about a situation. Like, they're going to tell you the content directly. And the truth of the matter is not a male insecurity. It's just that you are doing something that is not attractive to the opposite sex. Mm-hmm. It just is what it is. Now, you can stay on that path. I'm pretty sure you can find a type of dude who wants to be taken care of. I'm pretty sure there's plenty of dudes who want to be like pro gamers who would love to, do housework and be taken care of.
They're out there.
But those aren't the type of men that you're going after. You're going after a man who's very type A, very ambitious, very growth mindset. He's probably tall. He's probably put together. He probably is like, he exercises.
The root of this whole argument, ladies, you either have to lower your standards or rise up.
Why is it lower your standards?
Lower your standard or rise up to the standard of men.
Why is it
either way?
I mean, I guess I'll find out. I like how you said rise up to the standard of men.
Right.
I'll take that.
That's both. That's a two-way street. It's a two-way street. You can choose. You can either choose to lower your standard if you are that woman who is like, I need to make.
I have a question then. So since men, I have to always date down, are men just always lowering their standards when they get with women?
Men don't know. Men's standards are very, very simple. They're very simple.
Anyways.
You taught the girl how to fish. You taught me how to be a fisherman, and now I know how to fish. I don't know. Insert metaphor there.
Women's comedy hasn't gotten better.
Right, so it's a kind of preemptive defense.
Yeah, it's I don't want to be rejected. And therefore, I'm quite early on pointing out that if I come to a date and realize that you earn more money than I do, then I might reject myself now before you decide later down the line that even though you're with me.
That's self-preservation.
That's literally what we're saying. Take out the word reject, and the man is just not attracted to you. He's not self-rejecting. He's just not attracted to you. He knows that we're probably not going to have a compatible relationship. So you're saying like a man should invest all this money, energy, attention, and time in something that he knows is not going to work out. Why? So if you're not showing qualities that a man is attracted to, he's definitely not going to commit to you. It's really simple, and we overcomplicate it because we want to make people feel good. Or let me clarify. He complicates it because he wants to sell to women.
And I mean, there's probably dudes out there who this resonates with too, though, because it's like there are probably guys out there who are in a self-defeating cycle.
Well, those are the types of dudes that are what I would consider
of low self-esteem.
They're the female condition, blue pill, beta, whatever you want to call it, simps. Those are those men, and those are the men who would you probably need to look for if you're trying to be in a provider role as a woman. Like if you're a career-oriented woman, you want someone to complement your lifestyle, that's probably the dude that you need to be pursuing. And I promise you, as soon as you pursue him, it will work out. Like I am telling you,
the second you give him a look,
and
you're in.
Yeah, and this is where I would say like where women need to like shift their mindset. Like if you are going to be a modern woman, you're going to be out here and you're going to be like, I'm going to compete with the men. Cool. You just need to understand the type of man that you're going to attract. Like you're not the probability of you attracting
a man who's going to want to wife you up.
Then that's like who's like type A alpha or like, you know, your ideal kind of guy. The percentage of that is like pretty much non-existent, but whatever.
Yeah, it was quite funny. I was watching that Netflix show, The Ultimatum, and it was about people being frustrated, giving ultimatums about you're not going to marry me, you don't want to commit yet, you don't want kids. And for one woman, she kept going to different guys in the dating show where you date around to see if there's someone else better for you. And all the guys kept saying, I want to get my money right or my career right before I'm not ready for that yet. Like I want to be with someone, but I haven't got my like money where I want it to be or my career. So I need to focus on that first. And she was like, oh, you all say the same thing. Like, I don't care. Like she was like, I've got a career. Like, I don't care that your career isn't like fully at the top level yet. You're not a top level executive. Like,
I just want to stop and say something. This is why women don't understand men, and which is why you won't. Your chances of getting a man get lower and lower because you never take the time to understand men. But I digress. We'll care about what you care about. Let's get top level.
Let's just get married. Like her exasperation was like every guy says this thing as if and it is that.
Wait, are the guys saying that's why they couldn't be in a relationship or that's why they couldn't be married?
They like had girlfriends and things, but in the show they were saying like that's why I'm just not ready yet because I just haven't got I'm not where I'm at in life yet to settle down. And in a way, I think that was all like it was all their insecurity that they were thinking internalized stuff of like, if I'm not like playing at a high enough level, like I'm at risk here. Like I need to make sure that I'm safe and, you know, I'm going to be able to be a good provider. And it's a fear-based kind of thing.
Let's be clear. Sometimes it's not just fear-based. Sometimes, and this is the less compassionate lens, sometimes it's aspiration-based, right? Sometimes it's I'm going to be able to date someone that I think is of more beauty, more status, more something.
I almost feel like this can't be real.
No, it's real. So I like how we always come back to it's men's fault. It's men's insecurities. Okay, you know, let's take an objective stab at it from their perspective. First of all, first-time marriages in the U.S., 50% of them will end in divorce. That's one statistic. We know 70 to 80% of them will be initiated by the woman. We also know that if you make over, or at least $200K, the rate of divorce drops drastically. So why is it male insecurity and just wisdom Like, why is that male insecurity? So they're saying that when a man levels up, it's like, he's trying to change up his, he's trying to get a better girl or whatever because he has more money. We all know this is true, right? How is it though when a woman's at the peak of her sexual marketplace value, she doesn't want to take a gamble or a risk on a guy then? So it's okay for women to play the field all the way up to 30 years old. But when men reach their peak, now it's like, no, you need to settle down. So this is always like the same rhetoric, right? Like a woman could settle down at, 18, 19, 21, but no, enjoy your sexual liberation. Enjoy trying to figure out the different flavors of the candy shop that you like. But once you turn 30, young man, what's wrong with you? Why haven't you ever committed? You should be out here, you're running around like a little rake. Oh, you ain't good nothing, you're a wanderer. You're just a wanderer. Like, what I'm saying? This
Two old-timey terms in one sentence.
Yeah. But here's the thing. We don't tell women to settle down when they're 18, 19, 21, 22.
That's where I find this the biggest problem is because she's like, why are you all saying
it's
this?
Her biological
when in
clock.
reality,
she's probably about to hit the wall, but men are like, oh, wait, I can get better women now. I have more financial resources. I'm more sexually lucrative to a woman. Oh, wait. So maybe, just maybe, it would have been better if, when you're 18, 19, 20, 21, you like find that person, you take a risk and you take a gamble, and then no one gets to like be in the sexual marketplace.
It was all their insecurity that they were thinking internalized stuff of like, if I'm not like playing at a high enough level, like I'm at risk here, like I need to make sure that I'm safe and, I'm going to be able to be a good provider. And it's a fear-based kind of thing.
Let's be clear. Sometimes it's not just fear-based. Sometimes, and this is the less compassionate lens, sometimes it's aspiration-based, right? Sometimes it's, I'm going to be able to date someone that I think is of more beauty, more status, more something if I get to that level financially. So the unwillingness to commit is kind of, for some of those guys, derived from the idea that their stock is going to go up. And when their stock is going to go up, they are going to, in their mind, trade.
Yes, their stock is going to go up.
But my question to you as a high earner, which was more prevalent in your mindset as you were going up and trying to be more career driven and get higher status? Was it the likelihood of you achieving a greater mate, or was it the likelihood of you being able to provide for your family?
Security, 100%. It was greater security. But I'm also
the answer is there. Men are very security driven. They're providers naturally.
It's security.
It has also nothing to do with that. That might be a residual effect.
It's a residual effect, but it's not the prime. This is why I say don't chase women, chase money, and like you'll find someone who complements your life. I hate that he's saying this because even if you're a normal guy, like not even if you're African American, if you're just like a basic ass white cisgendered male, like you still have to earning 200K is not like a simple task.
Yeah.
Like you have to put in some work. Like there has to be some diligence and some prioritization in order to achieve that. And like the fact that they're turning this into saying like, oh,
it's an insecurity,
male insecurity.
Yeah,
it's like, no, it's nothing. It has nothing to do with male insecurity.
The only thing that I like kind of what brings me back is like, okay, 100 years ago, men and women would get married based off of a need for resources together. So it was never like, oh, I'm going to achieve this high level status on my own and then we'll be together, because they work together to get to that point.
So, and this is where I say most women, you look at the median age of women. Women aren't trying to settle down until they're right up against the wall.
Right.
So exactly. women are basically playing the market up to like their late 20s. And then they're like, oh crap, I need to find a man. And now it's like all these men, there's no good men out here. All of them have commitment issues. No, you literally played the field. And then when men actually come into recognizing their sexual marketplace value, what do? Play the field. And you're upset that men are doing the same thing that you were doing from 18 to 28 for the last 10 years. You're upset.
Yeah.
And this is why I say, like, when you lie, women buy. Like, you can easily sell this to be like, men are just insecure. It's their fault.
Exactly.
It's like, but what were you doing?
Because you're affirming that mindset that women already have.
Yeah.
Women are out there. I can say this from personal experience talking to women who are in the dating field right now, is that they're saying there's no good guys. Nobody wants to commit. It's because of social media. It's because of Tinder. They're getting all these, there's getting all of these people who are wanting to sleep with them for free. And da-da-da. It's like, no.
What are you doing though? Yeah, exactly.
Focus on you.
Women who understand their biological clock, they understand the prioritization of having a family, they understand of having a backup plan and getting education. What do? We used to call them, like, when I was back in Georgia, we used to call them MRS degrees. Girls would go to college to get an MRS degree. And the reality is those girls are the ones who lock in those high value dudes, and then they end up having kids, and like, dude, they're living their best life. And then like you have women out here who are like lying to other women. It's like, don't try to have a serious relationship until you're 30. And it's like 30 and for 30, flirty and thriving. It's like the best times of my life. And I'm like, yeah, you're on antidepressants. You're miserable. You get hoed out. Like, no guy actually wants to commit to you. And it's women really think they're going to bend and change the nature of men, which they are, but they're just not changing it in the way that they want.
Yeah. I mean, they are, but their standards don't reflect the men that they are able to get at that point.
Yeah.
So, but the other side of this coin, which I'm getting at, is like, yes, there's a lot of these guys that don't feel like getting married until they feel like they've earned enough and they're ready, financially secure to like kind of be in charge of the family. But there was a character on the show, Alexis, who, as she went and she gave her boyfriend the ultimatum, and then she went out to date these other guys, she kept pretty much just announcing to everybody like, well, I just want to make sure that the guy makes more money than me. Like, I'm not sure my guy makes enough money, and I don't know if I want to give away the show, but that whole speech she gave ended up being a little bit skin deep. Like, as soon as she realized that she might not be meeting somebody who was down for that or who was like making more money, she defaulted pretty back to her previous relationship.
Plug for the producer this, because he's like, y'all are talking shit right now, and he's like, what about the one chick who was like saying she wants men who make more money?
He's like, I watched the entire season, and what about Alexis, honey?
Yeah, because and this is where I think women need to understand the male experience, because it's if you are buying something and it sounds great, it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. And the reason why you're still single is not because of men, it's because of something that you're doing. I am telling you this. It is something that you're doing, because I promise you, if you like go to our website, you can find the resources that are there, and it's like everything is like laid out step by step on how to get a guy. And the reason why you're not getting a guy is because of something you're doing. It's not other men, it's something that you're doing.
Yep.
Straight up.
I don't know how to dance around it without giving away the show.
But that's part of the cynicism.
Watch, this is where he starts to lie. This is where I say I would give free game to women. Men are very direct. They're just really direct. When they're not being direct, that's your answer.
That gets created in some men is that some men have developed a cynical view of women because they've either seen or experienced something like that. And they've decided that, well, A, when my stock goes up because I make more money, I'm going to be able to attract a better mate.
Which is true.
And B, as long as I don't make that money, I'm not safe.
Which is also true.
Because if your worldview is that of attracting someone based on your financial status, it hits you both ways. You feel powerful if you have money, and as a result, you think you can get a mate. If you don't have money, you think that you're vulnerable and that someone won't love you. But that's because you've put your value in money.
All right, this is like a classic lie. People always try to use and manipulate money as this horrible thing. Money is just a tool. How you use it is what's going to determine whether it's good or bad. I just don't get how men do this and they sell this to other men and women. It's like, having money is not a bad thing. This dude is not doing this for free.
Dude, I was literally thinking that this whole time. It's like, okay, Matthew Hussey, like that easy for you to say. You're making millions.
You're have
afforded
money.
The privilege of being able.
But he didn't do this for free. You don't become a millionaire that doesn't happen by accident. People sell this to poor people to keep them poor.
Yeah.
It's like money's not important. You don't need money. Do you know who gets divorced the most? Poor people.
In the first place. So your whole relationship with money is one of power. And that for a lot of guys it affects women, because women who get with guys can find that these men have massive insecurity around the fact that they make money, or it affects other women because some of those guys leave once they make a lot of money. So it has a massive effect on women one way or the other, but it's all derived.
Watch Matthew Hussey's eyes. There's a man inside of there begging to get out. There's like a glossy glaze over there that's very robotic. I just feel like he's
like, we're about to hit the net worth of $5 million. Just one more line.
It's like the Rick and Morty episode where Rick turns into a teenager and he's like, help me.
Help me. I'm dying. This is not code.
We hear you, Matthew Hussey. We know you're
we get it. We get it, man. I get it. You gotta sell to your demographic. You gotta sell to women. I get it. I'm still gonna do business against you though.
From a male relationship with money that is one of power, and it's one that sadly is reinforced by some women.
So Matt, you make an interesting point about power and money. I think it might not be quite as cynical as power. It might just be more attraction and status.
He's like, I'm gonna fire you.
You know, like I just think there is.
You better shut your goddamn mouth before I fire you after this episode.
This is where I say, like, he's in there. Taylor's right. He's 100% in there. He's straight up lying to women, and you can see his demeanor change. This is why I say I think deep down he's a sociopath, but whatever.
That could be the dead inside eye.
Yes,
vibe
I'm telling you.
There is sort of a reason that the whole Cinderella story is like a woman lead character and not a man lead character. Like I just think, is it whether it's culture or biology?
A sign of anger, discomfort.
Or what? Like what?
That's why we have
what makes men attractive to a lot of women is status. Money gets status, fame gets status, just being cool gets status. And I do think that on a formula of attraction, I just wonder if there's a sort of asymmetry between the status of a man having more to do with the attractiveness of that man than status of a woman having to do with the attractiveness of that woman.
Well, I think that's true. I'm not saying that men thinking that money means power, and power can be defined as the power to attract people. But I'm not saying that men associating money with power isn't completely unfounded. With an entire group of people, it's absolutely founded. Men's experience has been that they are more attractive to more women. Well, they're attractive to more women if they're in a solid financial position. And look, it's not like the world is divided into women who care and women who don't care. Like life isn't that simple. There's people who make it the only thing that matters. There's people that don't care at all. And there's also women, if
you want to know when a man is lying to you, this is what it fucking looks like. This is 100% what it looks like. This is what it looks like when a man lies to you. Just so you know.
Find themselves in the much, I would argue, the very normal and human position of it's not the only way I'm.
It's just like the idea of selling sweet nothings. Like that's literally, you've all heard of it. It's like, I promise, Josie, once I come back from the war, we'll buy ourselves, a nice little farm with just a wipe. Telling you everything you fucking want to hear. Homeboy is smashing his way halfway through France. This is what it looks like when a man lies to you. If a man is telling you everything you want to hear, he's probably, and I don't say this in all cases because
I was just about to say that.
I'm saying the majority. Let's say you have a high value man, and the relationship should reflect that, right? But right now, what he's selling to women is he's basically the sugar daddy to all these women out here, just selling them a lie. But
make my decision, but it's nice to know that someone is able to contribute on that level. And it's also fun to be with someone where you can just go on dates. You don't have to think about whether you can or you can't do something. You can just go on vacation. Like there's a sense of freedom and fantasy and excitement that comes with options in life. And being with someone who is successful creates options. And so there is a natural, I don't, whenever someone kind of denigrates women for being attracted to successful guys, I always find that to be, I always have a bit of a problem with that because I'm like, well, wouldn't you be too? Like if I was a woman, I'd probably be more attracted to people who had.
Can we all just take a second? He just villainized men for wanting to be more successful, and is now saying it's like it blows my mind how quickly he made that double standard. It's like he villainized men for trying to increase their net worth to become more attractive,
and then defends women for having that innate desire in the first place. It's not just about having fun on dates and having the fantasy. It's about security, which is exactly what you argued.
That makes men insecure. It's like,
it's not insecurity, it's security in general. That's what makes it attractive to women, and that is why men want it. It is security.
I mean, this is, I feel like we beat up Matthew Hussey enough.
We beat him up.
But here's my truth. Women, I guess like I want women to understand this, and this is, I will say this: attraction is asymmetrical. Men and women are attracted to different things in the opposite sex. Mm-hmm. So if you are a very successful woman, you are going to have a harder time trying to attract a man, because if a man is already successful and he already has that much money, he makes enough money, he doesn't want someone who's just a mirror image of him. Like, as someone who works those long hours, it's like, I would like to come home to just a home cooked meal.
Yeah.
Because guess what? When you're working that hard and you're single, guess what you're probably doing? You're probably, if like, you have to cook your own meals, like you have to do your own laundry, you do all those things. And it's like that for me to live in another stressful life with just another stressful person is not exciting to me. It's not a turn on. So women have this idea that, you know, if I become super successful, I'm going to get with a successful person. But why are these men, flying out to Brazil or all these other countries and just getting a chick who's like a nail technician?
Yeah. Because
generally speaking, that woman probably has more traditional roles that complement that man's life. Now,
she doesn't have a job that's high stress and pulling her away from giving her attention to the male.
And starting a family.
Yeah.
Now, what I will say is women who want to be very career-oriented, it's like, look, it's not over for you, but you're just going to have to basically follow the same tactic that men use. Men tend to date down for a reason. Women who are younger have less going on, so they're a little bit easier to complement to your life. Like a woman who's far into her career, you're not just going to up and leave your career most likely. 9 times out of 10, you're probably not. Yeah. So that guy has to live in the same city, and he has to have no aspirations that he's not going to go anywhere else for his career. Probably not going to happen.
It can be done, but it is super complicated. And when you really just fundamentally take a look at it, men and women are doing things right now that are just unattractive to the opposite gender.
Yes.
Like women are trying to take on more masculine roles, provider roles, whereas men are then having to submit to that provider role, which is not in the nature inherently of men or women. And then we're wondering why divorces are crazy. No one's wanting to get married. Families are falling apart.
It's really simple.
It seems like, and Matthew Hussey is selling.
He's selling the lie.
He's selling the lie. He's selling the unattractive roles to the opposite sex. And that is the exact reason why modern relationships are failing nowadays.
It is.
Like, we are doing things fundamentally that we are unattracted to.
So caveat off what Taylor was saying is that if you are a woman who's like post-wall, you're in your 30s, you're very career-oriented, and you're struggling. You're just straight up struggling. One, I would advise you to go check out our website, link in the below. But also, I would think on changing up your approach to dating. So you probably need to start looking at yourself as more of a provider. Most women, the reason why you're single is because you need to change up your dating strategy. You're trying to use a traditional dating strategy in a modern world. It's not working.
And with that, if you're ready for real relationships
and real connection,
then let's get started.
What up?